Okay guys, so we will be continuing our review on some of the girls who have been already crowned per region. So previously we did the ladies from Latin America, and then prior to that we did an episode for the girls in Southeast Asia. So now we're going to try to look at some of the notable girls from the European region. Hola, you guys may know me as Tita Lavinia from Titas of Pageantry. I'm a beauty pageant enthusiast and I'm also a fashion writer for a wedding magazine. Please don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell notification buttons so that you will be updated with all my ganaps and hanash. The European region in Miss Universe, ever since they started this new scheme of separating groups per region, has always been very, very unpredictable. Some of the heavy favorites end up not placing at all, not even with the wild card grouping, but some absolutely obscure candidates get in. So we're gonna try and look if we can sort of penetrate or maybe at least get a feel of the strong contenders from Europe. But before that, I just want to mention that there have been a number of girls who have been crowned, but I won't be able to discuss everyone. So we already have queens from Armenia, Belgium, Norway, Netherlands. France also crowned their queen. She's from Tahiti, but she decided not to pursue either Miss World and Miss Universe because the 2020 edition of Miss France is going to Tahiti, so she opted to just be like a guide or an ambassador for Tahiti. Next is that unfortunately we don't have the queens from Spain and Ukraine yet. These are the two countries that I'm really watching out for. They usually send really worthy girls, and it's always exciting to find out who will be the next Miss Universe Spain or the next Miss Universe Ukraine, because the Ukrainians, they always send facially beautiful girls. So I'm gonna start with one of the heavy favorites this year from Europe. Her name is Cindy Marina. She's from Albania. Now Cindy is the first American-born Albanian queen. Now Albania has been sending Miss Universe delegates since 2002. They've had several top 10 and top 15 placements. The most memorable was Angela Martini from 2010, if you remember her. So there were some girls who didn't get to make it, but they were memorable nevertheless. So if you could remember, back in 2015, we had the likes of Meggy Luca, we had the likes of Lindita Idrisi. She was one of my favorites with her really curly hair. And of course, the unforgettable representative from 2018, from last year, Tres G. Segini, who has been making waves on social media, posing really sexy, really fun, and really flirty. So if you get to look at the Albanian girls, most of them have facially pretty faces. So that's, just like the Ukrainians, you look out for them because of the faces. So this year, they crowned someone really tall, really pretty. If you look at her, she's blonde. She's a volleyball player. She looks like a very innocent model type for Victoria's Secret. If you know Heather Graham, she looks very much like Heather Graham with the angelic hair, the complexion. So the thing is that hopefully she gets in. She's one of the more striking European girls from this batch. She speaks flawless English. She grew up in America. She will probably make it because there is some sort of a buzz around her. A lot of the pageant admins have been taking notice. So let's see if she'll fare well. Her beauty is more for Miss International, but who knows? She could probably go further than what is expected for a Miss Albania. Next on my list is Mia Rickman. I'm not so sure if I'm pronouncing her last name right. please correct me. She is from Croatia. Now, the Croatians, they haven't really been placing a lot, but they're making such a buzz. Especially for Mia this year. She's not the tallest candidate, but her face is really striking. She has curly hair, and curly hair is really on trend this year. If you notice, there have been some candidates not just from Latin America, but from the USA who has the same curly hair. So Mia has that as well. Feature-wise, she's very striking. She looks like a dusky version of our very own Samantha Lowe. So pepper that with a little bit of Amber Heard because she has bright light eyes. So her look is very versatile. She could be styled a little duskier or a little lighter. So depends on the makeup, depends on the styling. What's interesting about her is her background. She is actually studying environmental health engineering. So that's something new. If she gets the chance to speak up in front of everyone, if she gets to speak up and really talk about her background, I think it's going to be something different from everyone else who keeps on advocating education, feminism, women's rights, LGBTQ rights. So I think health and sanitation is really something different and something feasible for a candidate like Mia. Hopefully, she could go further or maybe replicate the achievement of one of the more successful Croatian delegates, Chanel Petty, in 2017. If you remember, Chanel was the one who was really excited when her name was called. So hopefully the Croatian gets in this time. Another dark-haired stunner on my list that's really worth taking a look into is Katja Stockholm of Denmark. Denmark has been very vocal, has been very active with their girls, not just with Miss Universe, but with the other alpha pageants. She follows the footsteps of another dark-haired beauty, Helena Hauser. So hopefully they'll do really well as well because they're very active. They're active with making sure that her social media is updated, making sure that, even if she's not a candidate with the most buzz, you get to really come across her on social media. Katya is of Russian and of Danish descent, so it really shows on her face. She has dark hair, she has stronger features. She speaks 6 languages, guys, and is a student of international economics and business administration. I personally have a soft spot for the Danes. I really liked the representative last year. So I am also hoping that they do really well this time. If I have a little bit of unsolicited advice for Katya and her styling team, maybe they should tone down the contouring or maybe the heavy eye makeup, because makeup that's too matte can age just about anyone. So I don't know if they can make things lighter for her. I just feel that sometimes she is styled too severely, if that makes sense. So let's talk about someone that I didn't exactly notice, and I wish I had noticed her before so I could have talked more about her. But when I made my list, when I was doing my notes for this episode, I kept on sending photos to my friends via DM on Instagram, and I was like telling my friends, why aren't we talking about her? Her name is Emma Jenkins. She will be the representative of Great Britain this year at Miss Universe. She is originally from Wales, and she previously represented Great Britain at Miss World, but unfortunately was unplaced. But fortunately for her, she earned the right to represent Great Britain at Miss Universe, and she is creating a little bit of buzz. But now that you know her, now that I've introduced her to you, I'm sure you're gonna check her out some more. Why? Because she has such a pretty face. She is oozing with sex appeal. If you look at her, she is more of an English rose when she doesn't have a lot of makeup on. But she does have a bit of sex appeal in her, and she does have that Latin fire with her. But that's not uncommon because, Catherine Zeta-Jones is from Wales, and she's a dark-haired beauty. With Emma Jenkins, she does have a little bit of Ashley Graham and a little bit of Eva Mendes. So these are lethal combinations if you have someone who is also very comfortable in front of the camera. She's a TV presenter. So there. Very little is known about her advocacy, but as a TV presenter, we can just assume that she's very good with communication skills. She's very good with being very comfortable with a lot of people. So it's gonna be a pretty difficult person to topple down. So let's see. She is always styled in such a way that's always glamorous, that's very pin-uppy. So they have to be very careful with that and not play up the sexy part too much because her persona is already very sexy. So if you have sexy everything from the styling to the makeup, then it might get too much. If you go ahead and check out her social media platforms, particularly her Instagram, she's still trying to find a look that would really fit her for Miss Universe. And I have no doubt she could do very well. Some of the representatives from Great Britain have already sought the help of Filipino stylists and Filipino trainers. So if we get our chance to maybe help her out and maybe polish her, then she could also be one of the ones to really look out for. I also want to talk about Russia because Russia is one of the countries that we always get to anticipate. First of all, they have a lovely crown, but whenever they crown their girls, it's a little bit confusing because you don't know if they're going to be sending the girls to Miss World or to Miss Universe. But according to the bio of Alina Sanko, she will represent Russia in both Miss World and Miss Universe. Alina, by the way, is studying architecture, but at the meantime, she is a catalog model. The issue with the Russians is that even if they have like the best wardrobe, or even if they have the prettiest faces and the most amazing physique, the personality is a little lacking, or that they don't really get to have a platform to show more of their personality. A lot of them are actually quite smart. I don't know if you remember, but there was one Russian delegate a few years ago who looked the part, who looked really rich, who looked really posh and really elegant, but she was also apparently super duper smart. So I don't know if Alina could turn on the personality factor and just show everyone that she is as pretty in pictures as she is in person.
Team Europe continues to gain momentum as they crown new winners with interesting backgrounds in beauty. Germany recently crowned a Trinidadian beauty named Miriam Anderson, while Iceland crowned a fresh-faced 19-year-old named Brita Abiba. Now, what's very interesting is that Czech Republic and Slovak Republic crowned their reps for Miss Universe together in one show. Czech Republic will be represented by the stunning Barbara Hodakova, who is also a law student, while Slovak Republic will be represented by the brown-haired beauty named Laura Longarva. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but you can look up the photos. They continue to really stay strong in terms of facial beauty. So it's going to be a very interesting fight for Team Europe.
I am saving this one for last because she was one of the pleasant surprises at the Nationals. So you have to help me out in here because the spelling of the names from this country is a little wonky and I'm not such an expert, but I did do a little bit of research, so if I'm wrong, do correct me. Her name is Finola O'Reilly. Finola is from Ireland. Actually, on paper, she has all the wow factor. And it's unsurprising because she was born to an Irish father and an African American mother, so she has American roots as well. She studied Bachelor of Science in Systems Engineering from the George Washington University in Washington, D.C. In fact, she also competed for Miss District of Columbia last year. So this girl knows her pageants. I saw clips of her during the Nationals, and she is sassy on stage. We, keep on discussing things. Will it be given to a Latina? Could it be time to give the crown to a woman of color? Now, if that's gonna be the direction of the discussion, then Finola is on the right track. Um, Only because she's a woman of color, she is super accomplished. She knows how to move on stage and she understands pageantry. So, another thing that could really impress the judges, another thing that impresses everyone, or at least most of the guys who follow what's been happening around pageantry, is that she used to work for NASA. So isn't that impressive? That goes along the lines of Deshauna serving in the army, or Kara being a scientist. So at NASA, she was the director of the NASA Space Apps Challenge and a NASA Datanaut. Such big words. So since we're waiting for the other queens to complete the European region, let's take a look at how Gazini will fare versus the ladies that I mentioned. In my past two videos, it just seemed more Gazini centric. But you know what, guys? This is only because it's easy for us to learn more about how the Latin American girls attack a competition. It's easy for us to also check on what the other neighbors are doing, because whatever they're doing, we're just trying to up our level maybe 2 or 3 times higher. But with the Europeans, it's so difficult to find out what they're actually doing with their training. It's difficult to find out or to really read their next move, because they may not be as polished or as vocal as their Latin American counterparts when it comes to training, when it comes to styling, when it comes to pasarela. But that doesn't mean they don't have a diamond in the rough. I mean, look at what happened to Iris a couple of years ago. She totally came out of nowhere from the observations of the other pageant enthusiasts. But once she was there, once she was given the opportunity to shine, she really outshone everyone. So Europe could do the same. People would say they might not give it again to another European because Iris just won in 2016 and everybody knows that Iris is from France. But guys, the Philippines won their our fourth crown, in less than 5 years. So if there is a possibility for a strong European to make it to the top, then definitely some of the girls that I mentioned are contenders. I only know that Gazini could, like what I mentioned before, out-monster them when it comes to stage presence, of course when it comes to wardrobe. But when it comes to personality, when it comes to communication skills, when it comes to like that spark, maybe we could have it with the Europeans. So I'm not putting all my money on Gazini for this particular episode, because we don't really know how well these girls have been training. Some of these girls are even tapping the Filipino training team to help them out. Sometimes they do really well, sometimes they don't, but it's just a little difficult. And if we're going to talk about crown rotation, because as you know, not every time the Philippines will be a center of the universe, then the European region could produce a winner, or at least produce girls who could reach the top. I'm really excited for this batch of Europeans. I really hope that they do very well. We have yet to learn more about the Africans. I know some of you think that it's a little unfair for the Europeans to have their own grouping, because a lot of us are cramming together with Asia and Africa with so many beautiful girls, so many worthy girls for a semifinalist slot. But it is what it is. One of the reasons as to why they did that was because Europe isn't really that strong when it comes to Miss Universe or pageantry in general. So they have to be able to give the Europeans like more chances of getting a semi-finalist slot, and then hopefully do better from there. So what does Gazini have to do? Gazini really just has to focus on herself. She cannot be distracted with all of these amazing women from all over the world, but at the same time she cannot be complacent. Everybody is focused on the Latin competitors, on the Asian competitors, without even realizing that the real competitors are actually from Europe. So she just has to be more self-aware. So guys, if you have any other questions, or if you have any opinions on how strong or not so strong these girls are, please comment down below, and hopefully you find joy in discovering some of the ladies that we normally don't get to talk about. Goodbye!